Okay, let's see. Story goes back quite a few years. Back in the day when I was actually good looking and younger, much younger. For some reason, I had to be riding a bus. Um, and car was broken down or something like that. So I'm on the city bus kind of a thing, and I'm sitting there, and in the seat in front of me is a an elder gentleman, I'll call him, who is, let's say, somewhat inebriated, and he smelled like it as well. So nobody was sitting in the seat next to him because of his, you know, condition. So we're riding along, and it's a rainy day. It's like people are getting on and off the bus every stop because they didn't want to walk, extra footage to the next place or whatever. And excuse me. And this young dude dressed fairly nicely, fancy little suit and tie, and he's kind of diddy bopping onto the bus. And this is back in the day when hipsters, you might call them, or not hippies, but you know, dudes who thought they were really cool. So he'd be walking along, snapping his fingers, singing to himself. So he gets on the bus and he's standing in the aisle next to the seat where the drunk is, planning to get off soon, I guess. And the next stop, a young lady gets on the bus, very attractive young woman, and she stands in front of the Diddy Bopper, and he looks at her and says, "Hi." He says, "Tickle your ass with a feather?" She turns around and says, "What did you say?" He says, "Particularly nasty weather we're having, isn't it?" And she makes a face and, "Yeah, sure," and gets off at the next stop. Another young lady gets on the bus. She's standing in the aisle in front of the Diddy Bopper guy, and he says to her as well, "Tickle your ass with a feather." And she turns around abruptly, "What did you say?" He says, "Particularly nasty weather we're having, isn't it?" "Yeah, sure, right." And she gets off at the next stop. And then another young lady gets on the bus. And meanwhile, the drunk is looking at this guy and says, "What the frig is this guy doing? He's got some balls talking to babes like that." Like he's mumbling to himself what I'm saying. He thinks it's really interesting. So another young lady gets on the bus and she's very hot. And he looks at her and says, "Tickle your ass with a feather?" And she says, "Where? Your place or mine?" He says, "Mine'll do fine." And they get off the bus together. Well, the drunk is like flabbergasted, me as well, but the drunk is flabbergasted. He says, "Holy shit, that's pretty good, pretty good, pretty good deal." And he's looking at me, and I'm shaking my head. "Yeah, I guess so." The drunk is he's nodding his head. So then this middle-aged woman gets on the bus, an older lady, middle age, whatever, this is kind of beyond middle age, let's say. And she, no place that she didn't want to stand, so she sits down next to the drunk, unfortunately. And the drunk looks over at her and says, "Stick a feather up your ass?" She looks at him and says, "What did you say?" It's pretty fucking cold out, isn't it? Well, that just broke it for me. I just fell over and had to get off the bus at that point because I was hysterical. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day.